Good day, everybody. Hopefully everyone's okay. I know I'm starting a little earlier than I said, um, but this is for the housekeeping portion of it, so we can get to the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here quicker. He will be here soon, momentarily. His appointment originally is canceled, so he'll be here in a minute. I just emailed him, so he should be popping in at any moment. Um, so first thing, again, this is the discussion for him to give his point of view. I'm just here to listen. If I have questions, I'll ask, but it won't be this trying to convince anybody anything. I'm just curious about some stuff. Secondly, um, I'm good, Purple. The tomorrow, since we're talking about an atheist's point of view, um, tomorrow I am setting to a premiere. I won't be going live, but this will be around the same time that a live will be on. I did a interview about 2 years ago. Some of you may have remembered that, but it was on my Rumble channel, still there now. But I decided to port it over here, and it was at the onset of my actual walk. I knew I believed in God and all that, but I was still trying to get rid of all of the angry Marlin, and I think I did okay. I still had language issues, so you'll hear that, just so you know. Um, Nothing overly egregious, but still there. So I just want you to be aware of that in case you come back and say, "Well, I remember it was 2 years ago," and it was at the very onset of things. And I think I've told you guys this, that it's not a um, vintage thing for me. I am in a space now that I have been grounded in, but it took a while to get there. Okay, so make sure you check it out. Again, you can chat, but just understand that I won't be responding to the chat. I might be responding to a chat that happened 2 years ago. Just so you're aware. Welcome, Chris. So I'm going to be waiting for Jimmy Tux to show up. Um, we'll see when he pops in here. So just be aware that that's what's going to happen tomorrow. So I won't be live. There will be a show. You can catch it, and so on and so forth. Thursday, however, I will be back. I still don't have a necessary topic. I have one was dropped, and I it's not fleshed out yet. Let's put it like that. It's not fleshed out, and when it is fleshed out, then we'll have a discussion about it being fleshed out. So don't stress about whether or not I have anything. If I do, you'll know. If I don't, you'll know. So tune in tomorrow for the one that I mentioned. And again, today is a hearing exercise. Okay, we're here to listen. We're here to learn. And speaking of listening and learning, I see Mr. Tux is backstage. So we're going to bring him up. So if you guys don't mind, please welcome our special guest. How do you prefer, Jimmy or Tux?
Either one.
Either one.
Okay. I'm both.
Mr. Tux it is.
Yeah, it's a alter ego / trail name that I got adopted somewhere in the mid 80s.
Oh, 80s Tux. Baby, huh?
Yeah.
Or 70s baby.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you old. I'm calling you my age. Okay. I'm going to call you my age. You're around my age.
Yes.
I'm not geriatric yet, although my body tells me differently every day I wake up. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is I've been trying to branch out into finding out some things about people who espouse atheism, and it was perfect timing because when you reached out to Corey, it was a perfect time because while the Too Strong platform may not lend it necessarily to what we're going to be doing here, this platform perfectly lends to it. And so it was kind of you may not believe this, but for me, it was a godly timing. So that's the way I view it. So what I want to really get to jump right in, I want you to break down, because in your messages, you said that you had tried to get to the point of being a Christian, but the journey ended when you decided or became a atheist.
Hmm.
So if you can explain, break that out. I'm not going to interrupt anything. I'm really just here to hear how that journey fleshed out. That'd be really good.
Yeah, the journey started. I was raised in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're in South Bend.
No, that's Corey.
That's
in
Corey.
Washington State. Yeah.
You're in Washington State. Okay.
Mhm.
So my journey began. I was raised in Fort Wayne, not far from South Bend, and I was raised in the Church of Christ. And my sister was. Are you currently Church of Christ?
No.
Yeah, it's in the review mirror for everybody that I'm associated with relatives, and except for an aunt and uncle, he was a Church of Christ priest. I mean, not priest, minister.
Yeah.
So my sister got baptized around the time I turned 10, and she's a couple years younger than me. And I was rooting for her. I basically wanted to get baptized as well. And growing up, I had pretty much knew the Bible pretty well at the age of 10. Wanted to become a Christian, with all the rights, respects. Now that in the rearview mirror, I look at Church of Christ as an idol worshiper to baptism, the Bible, and communion, more or less. But then I thought that was the path to be with God, and that the Bible was essentially your owner's manual to reside here on the earthly realm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to read it from the beginning, and I read Genesis 1 through 11. And at the time, I didn't know what I was thinking. I was very confused. I just knew there was something wrong, because this God that I'd always heard of now turned out not to be very competent, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And basically, I read it again, and then I read it again, and then one day I piped up in Sunday school class and said that that's not what the Bible says. And after that Sunday study, the teacher pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you can't. What's going on?" I was just the only thing I could say was just something's wrong. And I listed off what was wrong. And I basically concluded that argument with, we know the story of creation is true because women have one more rib than men do. Mm-hmm. And I was satisfied with that because that had been preached from the pulpit. It had been mentioned to me several times. I know, for instance, even though I can kind of picture them in my head, I don't remember any of their names, but I just remember multiple people stating that. And it was just an obstacle I couldn't overcome. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward a few weeks or months, I don't remember exactly the time span, but the difference between then and being in a 6th grade health class, in which I announced to the health class that we know the story of creation is true because women have one more rib than men do. And of course,
they laughed.
They laughed their butts off at me, man. It was a punch to the gut and then some. And so a couple of weeks later, around 2 weeks later, somebody who was neutral to both school and church was a substitute teacher that I knew from camp. And she'd read the notes, and she said she apologized that I was going through what I was going through. And I said, I basically said what I believed was the ticket to heaven, essentially. And she said, I understand. I want you to go to the library, and I want you to look up a couple of things. Mm-hmm. And so I looked up a couple of things, and she said, come to your own conclusion. And so that started the journey on whether or not the Bible is true in so many words. And it was a long journey. It was, for the better part of 30 years, a journey from, preteen to late 40s
Mm-hmm.
to decide whether or not it's true or not.
Gotcha.
And went to various churches. I went to various denominations, and the first thing to fall towards atheism is shortly after the events of September 11th. Terry Gross had Bart Ehrman on from an NPR station, and he was going over the lost Christianities. And so I got introduced to the Gnostics, read some of the Gnostics, the camp that I'd spoke of that the substitute teacher was also a counselor at. You learn quite a bit of Indian folklore, and some of the information within the Indian folklore mirrors some of the Gnosticism of early Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned quite a bit in that area. I also had an uncle who was an ordained Sufi, if you know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
So I studied some of the Sufi masters as well, which is a very nice expansion on the philosophical thought behind religion. But again, I ran into the same situation where the religion itself, Christianity, as the core knowledgeable belief system that I was used to, it just always came off as, to put it in metaphor, to use the same metaphor that the Bible uses, is the knowledge of good and evil. The Christianity itself, that the Abrahamic religions itself, Islam, Jewish and Hebrew traditions, and Christianity, all have a situation where their foundation is based on a tree of life and a knowledge of good and evil. And so I basically came to the conclusion, or I have come to the conclusion at present, that the knowledge of good and evil is actually the religion itself, is actually the teachings and writings. And it comes with a good pill and a bitter pill at the same time. And it, to conclude it and make it not too long of a story, but everything that is in the Holy Bible, I believe, is a setup for deception.
Okay.
And if you want any clarifications on those, I'd be happy to share them with them.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. But before we, I want to make sure I log that as a break point for me. And you said deception, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that would then mean that the people that follow it are deceived.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Would that deception mean that they're lacking of critical knowledge and critical thinking skills, or they just don't invest any time to become more critical and hence be deceived?
Well, I think actually the accurate answer would be both. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you, you reject how much knowledge biblical scholars have. They have taken and essentially used a historical measuring device on if this is actual and factual.
What do you mean by that?
If a biblical study comes out and says the flood is an impossibility historically, we have this counter evidence to it. Are you rejecting that because you have more knowledge than they have, or because you have a lack of knowledge that the biblical scholar would have, or this historian would have?
So if for me, I can speak for me.
Right.
If they were to come and tell me that the flood didn't happen, or at least it didn't happen. Now the question is, did it not happen at all, or didn't happen the way the Bible says? Which is it? They didn't happen at all, or didn't happen the way the Bible says?
I don't believe there was a worldwide flood where we were under roughly 30,000 feet of water.
So it goes against the Bible narrative. And so what would I reject that information? I would have to ask two questions. How do you know, outside of what you say, carbon dating or any of the kind of scientific methods you have, that would tell me when it didn't happen? Or are you just assuming that because of how the earth is built, it is impossible for water to do something? I would then counter it with this. Because my nature of living and believing of God has nothing to do with the realistic nature of life, because my God doesn't operate in a realistic way. It is very much still possible. Just because you don't think that the earth can withhold that much water in one location or even globally because of what scientists have come up with, doesn't mean it didn't happen. The same way they can tell you that certain tissues can't regenerate, but it can in certain instances. But when you look at dead tissue, it's dead. They can tell you that, well, there is an instance where it may or may not happen. But that's because they say they've observed that it's happened. In my world, you have not observed whether or not the flood can or couldn't happen. You're going based on past events and what you think couldn't happen. That doesn't mean it didn't. So it's not really proof. It's just your deductive logic on your end of reasoning that says it can't. On my end of reasoning, because I'm not going in on it based on a humanistic level because of what I think of God, that is where, and because I can say this, you can't disprove the existence of God, nor can I prove to you the existence of God. It is neither a provable nor a disprovable thing. That's where belief comes in. So when I say that the earth was flooded, I go on it based on what I know about God. You say it can't happen because you go on it based on what science says. So I don't think it's provable or disprovable either way.
I'd like to stick a pin in that and come back to it. Maybe we'll work on that on the conclusion that that I cannot prove that there is not a God. I have the presupposition that there's no such thing as God, Elohim, Yahweh, Hashem, Adonai, some variation of those labels for God. Now, I do have an anticipation that there is something in charge of us. I can believe, but I don't believe that the dots can be connected to, from biblical anyway, that it can be connected to that being that's potentially in charge of us.
Okay, hold 1 second before we go any further. Is Nitty one of your people?
Nitty is, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask Nitty to refrain from trying to be subvertive. We're here to listen. If you have your own opinions about it, perfect. But understand this, Nitty. If you're here to support your guy, that's fine. I don't mind you supporting him. But everyone in the comment section is here to listen. That's all you're here for. I'm going to politely ask that. I even mentioned that to my audience yesterday, and I mentioned that to them today. It is a matter of listening. So if you have an opinion about it, I don't mind if you have an opinion, but this isn't the place to espouse it, where the discussion is between Tux and I. And when you go to his channel, you can have that discussion. So I'm going to make that abundantly clear to both my audience and to you. This is a discussion between Tux and I. The rest of us are here to observe and listen. If my audience members are making suppositions and all that stuff, perfect. They can stop now. That'd be great, because I think I spoke about this yesterday. This is a point for listening. If that can happen, that would be greatly appreciated, because it will not distract from what's actually being said. Okay, that'd be great. So thank you if you can do that. Anyway, continue.
I don't believe that Jesus was a human form of God, but I do believe Jesus was a human. That there's enough historical evidence that there was a being, a preacher of some variation, a rabbi that had memorized scripture and potentially had garnered a following. That there's no such thing as a Satan character or a devil, that there's no such thing as the Holy Spirit, that there's no such thing as demons or bad angels, no such thing as angels, and that there's not an entity called hell and an entity called heaven.
And you've come to that conclusion because you have not encountered them, or you've come to proof that they don't exist.
Yeah, I believe their claims, and I have asked many, many times without any kind of resolution. Correct. So no, I do not have evidence to prove that these places don't exist. I have a physical realm that I am dealing with. If those things exist in another realm, then I have not been exposed to it.
Okay, you'll deal with that when you get to it, if you get to it.
Correct.
So and I have dealt with this particular viewpoint before. So your viewpoint is just as spiritual and just as faith-based as Christianity, but it's not Christianity.
Well, the faith The faith that I could have in a being exists.
No, not in a being. I'm not talking about that kind of faith. That there are two different terminologies of faith. I can have faith in something, or I have faith in believing of something. So
Mhm.
you are having a certain level of faith in believing that there is no heaven, no hell, no this, no that, without the proof of it, which is what faith really is. It's believing of something without actual tangible proof of it. So you do have a faith, but it's not of the religious in terms of God-based kind, but it's a humanistic religion.
I have a belief that the Bible and the stories contained within the Bible are a measure of human deceit, a snake oil salesman, if you will, level of deceit that has been perpetuated, much like we're seeing. I was going to use the example, since I thought you were in South Bend, of Manto Teo and the romantic Ponzi scheme and phishing scam that he was involved in, for instance. This is a massive scale spiritual romantic phishing Ponzi scheme, Nigerian prince scheme, perpetuated. And I believe I have knowledge by reading the Bible that exists.
You said spiritual scheme?
Correct. An equivalency of the romantic Ponzi scheme and phishing scam that Manto Teo was a victim of is being perpetuated on the human collective.
So there is a spiritual realm somewhere for that to be a scheme to happen there?
There's a romantic realm that we can be in love with something that doesn't exist.
But so the spiritual realm does not exist?
As described in the Bible, I don't believe the spiritual realm exists.
Okay. And
that is merely the conjunction fallacy to the deception that we've previously spoke of.
So in what way does the spiritual realm exist?
I could say that collective of human knowledge that I have demonstrated a time or two is potentially in a form of nature, a quote unquote look at the trees type of method, that there is something that is around us, that we are potentially in a spiritual womb of some sort on this earth. To go to the Gnostics, to go to the Native American lore, that we are here to learn, and that we do go on to other heavenly things, for lack of a better description. Just by looking at what got you and I here, the biological functions that got you and I here, there could be additional biological functions that get us to the next.
Okay. What is the difference between the Bible and the folklore that you spoke about on the Gnostics?
A common one I use is a non-canonical Gospel of Thomas. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Verse 77. This is, you know what? Let me find some notes here, and that way I can say it verbatim. Talks amongst yourselves.
No, we got time. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see. And I think I found it. Okay. All right. In the Native American lore, there is a "O Great Spirit" prayer. And in that it says, "Make me wise so that I know the things that you have taught your children, the lessons that you have written in every leaf and rock." In Gospel of Thomas 77, Jesus said, "I am the light that is above them all. I am the all. The all comes forth from me, and all reaches towards me. Cleave the wood, I am there. Lift up a stone, and you shall find me." So that is a for instance, that a collective natural biology we're in the middle of, and we're here to potentially learn, mature, grow, and go on to the next.
And so which one came first? Because I'm asking for you, because I'm
came first?
Yeah, which one of the lore or the gospel statements, or so in that meaning, like, okay, so we have history within the confines of the Bible, as well as some spirituality stuff and some mystic stuff, if you want to call it that, right? Some miracles, but we also have a whole lineage of actual history for kings and for kingdoms and for the deities, and all this stuff is in the Old Testament, and some of it in the New Testaments of Nero, of Nebuchadnezzar, the actual historical people listed in the book. So
Mhm.
it, of course, it cross sections a lot of the spiritual conversations as well. People like Abraham talking to God about his son and all that stuff. So in your research about the folklore things and the things of history, which ones would have piggybacked off the other in their storytelling? Would it have been the Bible first, or these folklores first?
So I think, by my best guess anyway, that there were kings, as you'd mentioned, and there were religions that were statue and statuette related in Sumerian and Babylonian texts,
Right.
that precurses the Bible. And those are a collective of humanity that were then shared with the metaphor of the garden. You had lots of trees. There are two that are selected. And I think this is a metaphor for some of those other kingdoms, other religions, other collectives of human knowledge that had been accumulated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, what I just read to you is merely a evolution of the same manner of thinking.
Right. But you mentioned the Bible. I want to give you my viewpoint about the Bible itself. I don't consider the book itself a book. I consider it an encyclopedia of books. So it's not the book itself. The book is just like a binder that contains a whole bunch of other books, and they just happen to put them in what they thought was either historical line, canonical line, whatever they want to say, however they put it together. But they go from a beginning to an end, but they're individual books within this binder. Okay. So when you say that they were written before or existed before the Bible, is there a specific book in the conglomeration of things we call the Bible that these books were before?
I don't quite understand the question. Are you
okay? So Genesis by itself was parchment before it was put into this thing we call the Bible now. Whenever it was written by Abraham. Okay, so we have and some by Moses, and we have a bunch of books, but they're all books written by these men outside of what we call now the Bible. It was put together by men and called the Bible. These books were separated by themselves and written over time and conglomerated into the thing we call the Bible. So you said that the books that you were talking about from these folklore were written, and you can see some similarities between the two and the three of them. And so which one was first? A certain book of the Bible was after, all the books of the Bible were after these, or were there certain books that were written before these, and it could have easily been that these folklores were piggybacked off of the Bible, or the books in the Bible, or was the books in the Bible piggybacked off of the books you're mentioning?
So the Sumerian text and Babylonian text, my guess is that those predate the Bible, but I don't know yes, all of the books. The precursors did exist, I believe, before the Bible.
So which means it's an old.
But what we're referencing in Gospel of Thomas and Indian Native American folklore and prayers, I don't know which one came first, because there's not a whole lot of historical record of, it's all oral tradition, where we have more of a written down tradition starting somewhere closer to 3,000 years ago.
Okay.
For instance.
So your basis for believing it is what?
Define what's it? Believing
what your system. You're right now. You say you don't believe the Bible, but you believe the other books you've read. What is your basis for believing them versus the books in the Bible?
Well, it's not necessarily that I believe them. I think the context of the question for why I pulled that up was what some of the exploratory human knowledge has been kind of, I don't know, consumed or leached from humanity into a Christianity type of belief. So, seeking out the wisdom that is in the Bible is not a bad thing.
We're not discussing whether bad or good. I'm just saying what brought you to your belief. Why would you pick them over what's in the book, in the many books of the Bible?
Picking human knowledge over knowledge that is supposedly come from a God?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to choose the human knowledge. I believe all of it.
But where did the human get their knowledge from?
The human? Did I get my human knowledge from observing things and learning them and deep diving into them?
So
yes, I did. So if I learn it from the God of the Bible, and it's a shortcut to deception, I still learned it. But it's kind of a cheat.
What makes it a deception?
If my presupposition is that the Bible is designed deception. So, for instance, there is deception at the beginning on page 3, and there is deception all through it, warnings of deception all through it, and then finally the deception is dealt with towards the end on 2 pages from the end.
Right. Okay. But again,
and everything in between could be deception.
What is the deception, though?
The invisible idol worship of God, Jesus as a spirit, Holy Spirit as a spirit, devils, demons, angels, and heaven and hell.
But okay, so how is that deception? What is the negative side to it?
What's the negative side from Lene being real to Mantoteo and actually being fake?
Yeah, what's the harm? That's what I'm asking.
If you want to stand on a false foundation for the premise of your knowledge, is that harmful?
To who?
It feels good.
To who, though?
To have that spiritual romance with Jesus.
Right.
It feels good. But if it's a scam, if it's a phishing scam, if it's a Ponzi scheme, well, then it will harm.
Harm who?
All of humanity.
How?
If we have real romances in our lives, are we going to have children and we're going to have the next generation, for instance? If we have fake ones, are we not going to have that?
Yeah, but
and the answer is yes.
But it's not telling me how it's harming. You're not saying how. You tell me that it is, and it will harm generations, but you're not telling me how it harms and who. But who exactly does it harm? If I believe it, and I'm not pushing it on you, how is it harmful?
It's harmful.
But, okay,
it's harmful.
You said that, but you're not telling me how.
It is. If you have ever watched any of those romantic Ponzi schemes in the documentaries, the emotion that pours out of somebody is harmful.
But to who?
The scam of them losing their money.
To who is it harmful?
It's harmful to the victim.
So why is it a you problem?
Because on January 6th, the constitutional contract I have.
What does January 6th have to do with God? I don't get that.
Well, you want to watch? You want to watch a prayer from the floor of the Senate?
What's wrong with the prayer from the floor of the Senate?
They did this for God, a God that doesn't exist, a God that they can't prove exists.
Okay, so
that is harmful. It is harmful to
who?
Everybody that follows the constitutional contract.
So, do you follow the constitutional contract?
Well, yes, I do.
Are you harmed right now by January 6th?
Yes, I am.
How?
Right this minute, I am in awe that you would want to think that following something that is an invisible idol that somebody prays to while they are capturing the castle floor of our heads of state.
How are you harmed by January 6th? That's a simple question. How are you, Mr. Tux, harmed by January 6th? You personally, how are you harmed?
I am harmed because you are perpetuating a scam.
You're not answering my question. How are you harmed?
I am harmed.
How?
I don't like Christians telling me that they believe in a God that now I have to watch potentially start a civil war.
Okay, but
that is harmful, and we are one step closer to being in danger because of that.
Is there a war right now?
There is not a U.S. war, but it has definitely been. Hey, hang on, Mylan. There has definitely been examples of this uprising starting to follow around the world.
Okay, good, but how are you harmed?
Am I directly harmed by it? I believe if I don't do something to stop the scam,
what can you
do? Will be harmful for all of humanity. It has already shown its teeth, Marlon.
Mr. Tux, it's a simple, very simple question, and I get that you have to deflect because you don't have an answer for it. How are you harmed by January 6th?
I have a constitutional contract, and that constitutional contract was violated on January 6th because of God.
How did it
because
get
of God.
How did
because of
your
a
rights
fake
get violated?
being that doesn't exist.
How did your rights get violated?
My rights were violated on January 6th.
How?
Do you want to watch the prayer? Do you want to watch a man wearing horns, wearing a fur clad, whatever he's wearing, preach into a bullhorn about Jesus? So yes, I was harmed by that.
Okay, so question again. How were you harmed?
I was harmed by the dishonesty of those who are following Jesus. That's simple.
Okay, I'm going to try and phrase the question a little differently. Maybe it might be my problem in how I'm phrasing this.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody to be saying that they are harmed by something, there must be some sort of tangible, emotional damage done.
Yes.
To you directly. What was that physical or tangible or mental or emotional harm done to you specifically on January 6th?
Onward, Christian soldiers. And that is harmful. It is just plain harmful.
How? I don't get it. I'm still waiting for the how. You keep telling me it is, but you're not telling me how. The same way you're telling me that these stories you believe, but you don't tell me why.
What, for example, am I not telling you why?
Well, you're not telling me how you were harmed. You're telling me that you were harmed.
I was harmed on January 6th. How? My constitution that I live under was violated.
How?
Christians violated my constitutional rights.
Could you
the constitutional contract I have with the United States that I would like to live under and continue to live under, but Christians...
You still live under it?
I do.
So it wasn't violated to the point of it being erased?
Ounce of prevention, folks.
No. I'm asking a question. Was it violated?
It is answering the question, Marlon.
Was it erased? Is my question. You didn't answer that question. Was it erased?
An ounce of prevention is not going to be erased. I'm going to stick up my finger and I'm going to point to you and I say, you have an obligation to make sure and protect the Constitution of the United States just the same.
Right now. Is the Constitution null and void right now?
It is not.
Okay, so what harm did it get done to the Constitution?
And you're saying there was zero damage inflicted upon the Constitution that day?
Zero. Did anybody pay the price for what they did? Are they in jail?
They are.
Okay, is that not the Constitution working itself out to defend itself? So how is the Constitution harmed by that? If it's actually working to put the people that did something wrong in jail. There can't be a harm happen if the so-called harm got removed and put in a place where you say it belongs. So how were you harmed?
I am harmed by those who have been catfished essentially by Jesus Christ.
They are being catfished, not you.
Yes, I have.
But they are being catfished. You are not. Are you catfished?
Yes. I believe that every single Christian right now who is following Jesus as the new invisible idol.
Are you?
Yes, I get harmed by Christians who have been deceived.
That's not what I asked. I asked, are you being catfished?
Yes.
How? If you have all the knowledge you say you have, how are you still being catfished?
Because I'm out of it. I'm free from it.
So you're out of it, so you can't be catfished. Other people might be.
The fraud is still continuing, Marlon. The fraud is still continuing.
But it's not on you.
Well, then what should I do?
Did they need your help? Did they tell you they want your help?
What should I do then? What do you suggest is the better path for me to prevent the flag waving Christians who were outside of the Capitol, who believe that they were doing God's will just the same?
Do you love the Constitution?
No, I don't love the Constitution. Do you love Jesus?
Yes, I do.
You love Jesus, right?
I do, right.
Okay, now if Jesus is a scam, should I try to prevent you from being scammed?
No, because you can't. I don't care what you do. You can't stop my delusion, if that's what you want to call it. Okay. I don't care how much information you bring. I'm going to put this on the table right now because other people may not do this for you, but I will. This just so you are aware of where I am when it comes to God and Jesus. There is nothing. When I say nothing, I mean zip, zilch, zero, nada. You could hold me, waterboard me, cut my toes off one by one, rip off toenails, threaten the family, kill my family, do whatever you want. It will not ever caused me to renounce God and Jesus or stop following him. So there's no amount of information you can bring me, because the same information that you have to follow what you're following is as unprovable as mine. You just decide to follow it because you don't want the other. I am sold on mine. Whether or not someone brings the same way, you are sold on yours. But I'm not forcing you to believe it. You have the right to believe what you want. That's the value of the Constitution itself. If you say you want to protect it, then you would leave me to my delusion. That's the true value of the Constitution, is I have the right to be deluded. If my delusion, however, is not killing you, harming you, destroying you directly, how is it your reasoning to mess with me? Why?
Manto Teo had a fake girlfriend.
Why is it your decision to mess with my belief structure? If you think I'm being deluded and I'm loving my delusion, what gives you the right to infringe on my delusion?
Is it infringing, or is it a warning that you may or may not listen to?
If I say I don't need your warning and people don't want your warning because they're happy in the delusion, why should you continue to try and get them out of the delusion?
That's an awful way to think, Marlon.
It doesn't matter what you think about how I think. I'm telling you this is how I think. The same way I'm not trying to convince you otherwise.
If Christianity is a form of enslavement, would you like me to release you from your enslavement?
I love being a slave to Christ. That's perfectly fine with me. The same way you're a slave to education and to information.
No, that's...
You are, because you constantly seek it. That's being a slave.
Well,
can you escape learning?
Protecting myself from the scam and the schemes and the false deception, the false teachers, the false prophets.
Will you stop learning?
Why would I do that?
Okay, exactly. If I told you then all that learning is making you crazy, should it be on me to stop you from gaining knowledge?
If I'm under the influence of a scam or a scheme, yes, no. I do believe that is the right thing to do.
If I consider knowledge the scam and scheme, can I convince you that knowledge is something you should cease?
I don't see the reasoning behind it, but go ahead.
You see, you just applied knowledge to combat something I've told you about a scheme. If I told you knowledge is a scheme, you just implemented the scheme to tell me why you shouldn't stop the scheme. But when Christians do it, it's a God thing and they're crazy. I'm not trying to stop you from gaining whatever knowledge you want. That's not my job. It is not my job to convince you of anything that you should want to do. If you don't want to follow God and you don't believe in God, that's completely 100% fine. You know why? Because everyone has to do their own. If you're then telling me that I'm delusional and I'm stupid and I'm not smart enough and I cannot critically think, and that's why I'm following Christianity.
Why don't we take a break? Because I don't believe I've called you those things.
No. If I ask you at the very beginning, if those who are delusional are not critical thinkers and are deceived, you said yes.
Yes, if you're deceived, I do have...
Are you dumb?
Yes, I am dumb.
No, if you are deceived, are you dumb?
Not necessarily, no.
Are you unsmart for not seeing through a delusion?
It's subjective, but then I'm not really.
I'm not saying stupid as a bad thing. I'm saying that's what I have to be deluded. And to still think I'm smart.
That's not necessarily true.
I have to be.
There are very good people in this world who get scammed.
Good has nothing to do with smart. I know plenty of good special needs people. I know plenty of people who have a very low IQ. Stupid as the day is, but they're sweet, wonderful, nice people. But they're dumb. And it's okay to call them that because they don't have the brain capacity to be smart. That's not an insult. It's just a fact. Okay, good. I'm saying that if I am deluded by religion and you need to call me and say, look, that's delusion. And I tell you, I'm fine with my delusion. What do you consider me then?
You won't change your intelligence one bit, whether you are in Christianity or out of it.
That wasn't the question. What do you consider me?
I could just consider you deceived. I don't think that has intelligence connection to it.
No, but that wasn't linking the two. I'm saying what you said before. And that was actually what I wrote it down. Is what you said. You're not very smart. You're not a critical thinker if you are deceived. That's what
I said that?
Yeah, you can go back and watch it later.
I didn't say that.
Okay. All right, fine. You didn't say it. Let's just say you didn't say it. I'm going to tell you what you actually told me, and then you can decide that later. And I did. Now, on to the actual point of our discussion, of what we were just discussing. If you are after knowledge, and I tell you that knowledge is absolutely detrimental to your walk as a human being, and you're being deceived by all this knowledge.
Yeah.
Should I then try and stop you from learning?
That's no, you should.
Why?
Here's the thing. Biblically, you should make sure that you're not deceived.
No. See,
Yes.
We're talking about you.
Yeah.
Should I
Well,
stop you from
that is
learning?
exactly what I did. I don't need any of these scholars or anything.
You know
I can
what?
just pick up the Bible and I can read it, and I can see it tells me to be
Should I
wary
stop you from
of
learning?
false teachers, false prophets, and ravenous
Should I
wolves in
stop you
sheep's
from
clothing,
learning?
and don't be deceived, my brother. And multiple times it
You
tells
can't be
you
quoting
about
something
20
that makes no
times.
sense. First of all, don't quote something that makes no sense. You said it doesn't make sense. So don't be quoting stupid stuff. You know the Bible's stupid, so don't listen to it. Don't quote it. Don't even go to it. It's nonsense. It is all heresy. It is delusion. You shouldn't be quoting delusion to try and combat delusion. Because I believe the delusion. It's a losing battle. Okay, you're not going to win by quoting scripture to me. I'm deluded based on that delusion. So don't go to scripture. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. You're going to convince me further to continue following it. I am asking you a very specific question. If I told you that knowledge was a problem, should I stop you from gaining knowledge? Yes or no?
Is the knowledge harmful?
It doesn't matter. If I think it is, should I stop you?
No, I haven't.
Why?
What have I attempted to do?
It's harming you. It's harming you.
Knowledge is harming you. Okay. Well, I don't agree.
Okay, exactly. We don't agree that Christianity is harming us, but you still are hell-bent on stopping us. For what purpose? Because you believe it?
Because I believe you've been deceived. I think the Bible tells you to look out for this deception, and you want to tell me I should ignore the Bible, warning you to look out for that deception.
I don't believe about the Bible. I really don't, because you are not invested in it. You've read it. That's all you've done is read it. You've not done anything past reading the Bible. Not one thing have you done past. You know how I know you haven't done anything past reading the Bible and read it for his historical and for what you think it says? You have never once consulted the author of that book. Not once. I know that for 1,000,000,000% fact. You have never consulted the author.
You know, it's not very often I call somebody out for being this wrong, but I've had a theophany, and in all honesty, I think you should open your mind that the Bible does have some insights for what you follow.
You're not going to answer my question?
I don't even know what the question is, because it was an accusation that I haven't consulted with the author of it. The author of it is a human. If the author is a human, and
you answered my question. I'm glad you finally answered my question. So you never did.
So present us with the author.
You don't know who the author is?
Please present us with the author.
Who's the author?
No, present us with the author.
God is the author.
Okay. Then who wrote Mark?
No. Have you met God?
Yes, I have.
You've met God?
I have had a theophany.
No. Have you met God? I didn't ask you about no theophany. Have you met God?
I believe I have.
Theophanies from drugs too, but have you met God?
Mine was not drug induced.
I didn't ask it. Did you?
Was an alcohol induced? It was mine. It's for sale.
God.
It's for sale until I make my next video.
What did he say?
He warned me that there is deception.
So there is a God?
So did I not say that? Did you jot that down?
No, you said there isn't. You said
I said that there isn't a connection to your God in the Bible, a connection to your Jesus in the Bible, a connection to your Holy Spirit. You haven't provided that as the connection.
Are you not an atheist?
I am an atheist to Jesus and Yahweh, yes.
But you're not an atheist, then. So you believe there is a God, just not the one of the Christian faith.
I would consider myself agnostic.
You're not an atheist.
On that there is something in charge of us. Remember the words I said. There could be something in charge of us.
So you deceived me.
I said this. You can roll back. You can roll back the video and see that I said this.
I can read the email that you told me that you're an atheist.
I am an atheist to Jesus and Yahweh.
What is an atheist?
I don't have a belief that there is a God.
Okay, but you just said there is.
I
Just like the God of the
don't
Bible.
see any evidence that Jesus or Yahweh is a God.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. You said there is a God, but it's not the God of the
I
Bible.
am agnostic about that there's something in charge of us.
So you're not an atheist.
That's correct. I'm way off the charts on atheism for Jesus and God.
So don't call yourself something that you're not. That's a lie. That's
I
delusion.
am both. I can be both.
You can't be both.
Yes, I can.
It's not possible by the definitions of them. You cannot be both.
Well, why is that? Explain that to me.
Because
Why would I think that God over there is false, is a false teacher, false prophet, and they're the ones I'm supposed to worship, but there could be something over there that is real?
Then you're not an atheist. Don't use the term of not believing there's a God at all. That's not provable. You are not an atheist. You might want to be, but you're not.
I am an atheist for Jesus, and I am an atheist for Yahweh.
No, you just don't believe in those gods.
I think they're manufactured by humans.
Okay,
and you've been deceived by that manufacturing.
What's the definition of an atheist?
Look, I just don't believe that you have provided me with any kind of evidence that the connection to the God that you state exists.
I have told you from
legit.
the very beginning, I'm not here to convince you of jack squat.
Well, I'm not here to convince you either.
I didn't ask you to convince me. I even told you that.
I didn't ask you to convince me either. You asked to listen to me.
And I am listening to you, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't have a rebuttal to the things you say, because I still believe what I believe.
Yeah, well,
you're looking for a blank canvas you can write on. That's not going to be me. I'm here to listen to your journey. And so far, if your journey doesn't make sense to me, should I just shut up and not say anything?
You asked me to do this. Remember.
No. You asked Corey to do this, and Corey sent you to me.
Okay.
Get it right. Who approached who first? Did we come to you?
I went to Collab. There's a new system on Collab where I reached out, and he reached out back to me.
Did we come to you?
You came to me. He came to me as well.
To you first. Let me put it to you. The word first. Who came to who first?
I sent out, let's collaborate on a live stream about religion. It's a role in society.
Good. You came
excited to hear your thoughts.
But you came to first, right? You came to us first.
Yes, I filled out information on Collab by StreamYard.
Nice. Perfectly done. Now, if you are coming to us to collab, the definition of collab is not a one-way street.
Okay.
Good. I am giving you the other side of the street. You don't want the other side of the street.
I don't know what that means. What does that metaphor mean?
Your idea of collabing is coming to us with your idea and using your idea only. That's not collaboration. That's dictatorship.
Okay.
That is, but you believe that's okay. Because the same mindset you have of that is the same mindset you have of putting Christians to shut them up because they are delusional.
I don't believe that's what I said.
You don't want to shut us up?
I would like you to see that potentially that you are instructed by your holy book to seek out whether something is deception or not.
Why can we not?
And that's all I'm asking you to do.
Why are we not allowed to believe it?
You are allowed to believe it.
And let us believe it. Why do you need to put your 2 cents in to tell us not to and call us delusional?
Well, I just don't believe that there's a good authentication from Jesus or Yahweh that the things that you believe are legitimate.
You believe everything a man wrote. We believe everything a man wrote. What makes your man better than ours?
Well, I've seen examples of romantic Ponzi schemes and phishing scams, and I believe that there mirrors. Marlon, you're talking over me like that. You're really testing it. This is not listening. This isn't listening.
I am hearing you. I'm completely hearing, but you keep repeating the same crap over and over. You're not answering my questions. Every time I've asked you a question, you've deflected to something other than the question. How should I keep a composure of myself if every time I ask you a question, you deflect to some? I don't even know how the hell we got to January 6th, first of all, when we were talking about. You brought that into the conversation for what reason? I don't even know.
Because it is a harm to humanity for it to violate our Constitution.
About January 6th, we're talking about God.
If a whole bunch of people praising somebody other than your God did the same thing on January 6th, and they said a prayer of some other version,
they do it all the time.
That you would reject
the right to kill babies. They do it all the time. I can't stop them.
That's that is so add something. It's just so off subject.
So add what?
They
pray to the demon gods every time they pass a bill to murder babies.
There's no such thing as demons.
Oh, but there is such a thing as a God outside the Bible.
There
That's
could be
amazing
something
that
in
you
charge of
believe
us,
that.
yes.
Do you see,
I
do you
have,
see- do you see how
without
your
lack of
past is
introduction, in the real world that I can take a selfie, then I'm not
But you spoke
prone
to him,
to
though.
take,
You didn't
I'm
take
sorry?
a selfie when you spoke to him. Why didn't you take a selfie when you spoke to him?
it's in my head. Unfortunately,
but
it's
you should
only
have
in my
taken a
head.
selfie to prove it. You should have taken a selfie.
I agree. I
Why
agree.
didn't you? You didn't think
It's
about
only
it?
in my head.
You didn't think
It's
about
only
it?
in my head.
You're deluded.
Or it was something that was in my head.
No, you're definitely deluded because I didn't see it. So you're definitely deluded.
I agree.
And you need to stop that and get back to reality.
I fully agree.
Okay, so get back to reality. Is there a God?
There might be something in charge of us.
So you're just left reality again.
Okay.
Prove to me there's something outside of us.
There's something outside of us. You
Prove it.
just watched a celestial dance in the sky yesterday, did you not?
I didn't watch it. No, I don't watch stuff. So tell me, prove it.
Prove what?
Prove that there's something outside of us.
Outside of
You just
us?
said there was something outside of us.
I've shaken hands with an astronaut that was 6 to 7 months on the International Space Station. That is outside of us.
Good for you. Now, tell me, prove to me that there is a God outside of the God of the Bible.
I don't suggest that there is.
You did. You literally said you met him. How is that not suggesting that there is
a theophany? A theophany is not the same as me providing you evidence that there is a God.
So you don't have to, is what you're saying.
I'm not preaching you the philosophies of the theophany that I had.
Why?
Because it's unimportant.
To who?
Even to me, it's not important.
So why mention it?
Because you had made mention that I hadn't consulted with the author, quote unquote.
Yes, and you didn't. You mentioned some other God, so you didn't talk to.
Yes, God. I believe I have definitively shown that the false idol that you worship, that Moses brings down from a mountain and brings us 10 versions of instructions. All right, I believe that is the moment in which we are sold an invisible idol. 10
versions or 10 instructions?
10 instructions. Okay. First 4 being that of some variation to bolster the invisible idol.
Okay, so how do you get your morality?
But what does morality have to do with my atheism?
It's just a question. How do you get your morality?
My is an accumulation of human knowledge.
Okay, so is there a right and wrong?
There sometimes is a definitive right, and there sometimes is a definitive wrong, but most of the time it's somewhere in between.
Okay, so who decides that?
The collective of humanity.
Okay, so why is it our collective when we do January 6th, is that wrong and yours is right?
It doesn't, I don't understand.
Well, our collective said it was right to do that.
Yes, I believe people who were scammed went and said, this is our right. And there were people who were Christian believers who said that they are supporting that right.
It don't matter how we got there. I'm saying our collective right said we could do it. Well, why is that wrong?
I don't know why.
You're the one that said it was wrong. I didn't say it was wrong. I said it was right.
It is wrong.
So why?
Because it violated the constitutional contract that we have with the United States.
I didn't sign it.
Well, I was raised to believe that it was worthy of following. So
you were indoctrinated.
I was indoctrinated by the Constitution of the United States.
So
yes,
you followed the religion of the Constitution. You're a believer.
The rules and the restrictions that are within that I believe being treated as an adult is a good way to go.
You're a Christian, bro.
No,
you just don't realize it. You're a Christian, but you're not a Christian that follows God. You're a Christian that follows something else, but you're just like a Christian.
No, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian who's free of the scam of Christianity.
No, you're just following a different scam. I get it. That's a different scam. It's just a different scam.
Well, the scam is the United States of America, and
the difference is I'm okay with you following that scam. I'm fine with it. You can. In fact, I encourage you to keep going down that road because that's the road that you want, right?
I didn't understand that. Say that again.
The road that you're on is the road you want, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it's the road I'm on.
You don't want to be on that road?
Well, this world is not named Jimmy Tux. It's named Earth.
I didn't say but your world is. So you don't want to be on that road?
I don't want to be. I want to be on the road that I am on right now. Yes.
Perfect. Good. I'm not willing for you to just get off of that road if you don't want to get off that road.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to try and get you off that road.
Okay.
You've chosen that road, right?
I have.
Maybe if you're all about knowledge and people, you should allow people to make their own mistakes and go down to hell or to the handbasket or whatever they're heading to on their own. Maybe knowledge that you possess should allow you to say people can be deluded. Maybe it's okay for a human being to just do what they want in this society, this world, because it's a free society that we live in. We can live, think the way we want and not care about the other person and what they think. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing for me. You're doing for you. I'm not trying to stop you on your knowledge journey.
I agree.
Good. So why are you trying to stop Christians and call them delusional?
I'm merely sending up the flag. I'm merely sending up the flag of what I have found that the Bible is.
Even if they are, why do you think it upon yourself to stop them? What gave you that okay to be the insistent on stopping them?
What if there's a moment when you can either choose to save yourself, but you'll be chastised for it, or give up the seats on the lifeboat, for instance, to those that are lesser? Which is the right thing to do? Going with morality.
I'm keeping my seat.
Yeah, you're keeping your seat. I'm giving it up. I would rather die having given up my seat than.
Then go ahead and then die first. Let me see you.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Then we're in agreement.
No, die
or
first.
Disagreement.
Die. Because that's the only way I will ever change my mind is if you die.
If I die, you'll change your mind.
That is it. Okay. That's the only way I will ever change my mind is if right now, and I'm going to speak to, of course, my God.
Yeah.
The only way I will ever stop believing in God, denounce Jesus, and move away from the Christian faith is if Tux gets struck by lightning right now and dies.
Well, perfect. I mean, you do realize I'm going to die someday.
I didn't say that. Did I say someday or did I say lightning right now?
Well, I'm in the basement. It's a challenge.
Did I say later or did I say lightning right now?
Well, I don't know what this path is leading us, but
I'll tell you where my path is leading me. But I'm not expecting you to believe my path. I don't expect you to follow my path. In fact, I expect the complete opposite. I expect complete rebellion against the path, I will tell you. And this is my path. I have experienced twice as much as you might think I might have experienced in order for me to get to this point in my Christian walk. Where you might think I am deluded in reading the book did not delude me. I didn't get my information and my belief system directly from the book. I got it from somewhere else that you will never be able to encounter because you don't want to encounter that. Your encounter is with knowledge. Your encounter is with the tangible. Mine is not. Our paths will never cross, ever, unless you change your viewpoint or unless I change mine. And I can unequivocally tell you that I will never change my viewpoint for anyone, any reason at all. It could be tomorrow. People could come busting down my door and tell me, denounce God, I will put a bullet in your head. I will clear the spot for the bullet. I will go to the kitchen and get me some Clorox and wipe that spot. And I will grab their gun and I will put it right here and say, please make sure you don't miss.
And the same would go for me for...
Perfect. Then I'm not trying to stop you. So why are you on a mission to stop others?
Am I on a mission?
You just said you were.
I'm on a mission, I suppose, to use that colloquial term. I am on a mission to show and demonstrate that the Bible has some deception in it. And that you need to be warned of that deception. And it could be a problem that you've been involved in humans deceiving other humans, and that there might not be this Jesus and this God up and above that's going to reward you for your untold treasure, and et cetera, et cetera.
Do you think that's why I follow God? For untold treasure?
I think the Bible is the reason you follow God. I
didn't ask you that. I asked, why is it so difficult for y'all to answer a question? Do you think that's why I follow God, for untold treasure?
I don't know what your motivation is. I haven't asked that specifically. So why would
you even mention that as an option for me if you don't even know? You see, you make a lot of assumptions about things and then become true to you.
Is that really far off base, though?
Very far off base. Extremely far off. When I say
You're-
far off, you are now in Texas and I live in Hawaii. That's how far off base you are.
And
I don't follow God for the benefits
the
of the
schematics
future.
doesn't matter.
It is not semantics. I do not follow God for heaven.
Mhm. Okay.
And I don't follow God for streets of gold. I don't follow God for supernatural blessings. I don't even follow him for the gift of tongues. I don't follow him for any of that.
It feels good to love
No, it doesn't
and
feel
stay
good. Trust me,
within
following God,
the
I will tell
bounds
you
of
this
Jesus.
much. I will tell you this much. Following God does not always feel grandiose and good. In fact, more days than often, I encounter the initial feeling of, is this worth it? And then the next thought is, of course it is.
They were the same.
Exactly. But the difference is that I'm not persuading you to change yours.
Yes, you are.
I'm not on a mission to persuade
I
you.
bet I could click on any version of any of your live streams
Go
and
ahead.
we'll find some variation of a proclamation and the perpetuation of Jesus.
Do I tell people they should not, or do I tell them believe what you want to believe?
Well,
Answer
I'm
me
going to
that.
tell you the same thing too.
No. Answer my question again, bro. It's a question. Do I say follow or else, or do I say do what you want to do?
I believe you have. I have clicked on one of your videos that you were critiquing somebody.
What did I say?
And I don't remember who, but you basically made that narrative.
It was a Christian, another so-called Christian.
I believe
I don't
so.
go after atheists. You know why? Because there's nothing to convince them of.
Well, you can convince me that
No, I can't.
there is a connection between the Bible and the person you believe, the author you believe.
I don't want to make that connection for you. That's for you to make. I can't make that connection for you.
Well, I've deemed that it's a false teacher, false prophet, and a human being behind it, not
exactly. But you also say in the same vein that there is something else there. So
but those are two separate things.
You're not fully convinced that they're alone, are you?
I am convinced that that's why I'm an atheist of Yahweh and Jesus.
No, that's
but not that there could be a
that's not what I asked you. Again,
entity in charge of us.
Is it difficult for you to hear what I'm saying? I said, do you think and believe that there's something in charge of you? I didn't say that God
I've said that like 3 or 4 times.
Good,
seriously.
Then you're not an atheist, bro. I'll keep telling you that you're not an atheist.
I am an atheist of who
That's
Jesus
and
works. Related to the Bible.
That's not how
God Yahweh
works.
Related to the Bible. That is a different thing.
Okay, I know you're smart. I know you're smarter than this. You know for a fact that atheism is not selective in gods.
Selective in gods?
Yes. Atheism does not select which God it believes in and not believe in. Atheism doesn't believe in any God at all. You, on the other hand, believe in something that you met and had a conversation with in some kind of a little event you had in your life, but not the God of the Bible. So you're not an atheist. You're something other, but you ain't an atheist, bro.
Whatever I am, let's just say that I wanted to be a Christian and I wanted it to be Jesus.
No, you
and
didn't.
It wasn't.
No, you didn't. You wanted the Bible to be true. You never.
And the Bible, and if the Bible's not true, should I stand up and say, "Hey, Christians, let me help you"?
You never.
Is that? Let's treat this like it's a marriage and not a divorce.
Jesus? Have you met Jesus?
No.
That I rest my case. So how do you know anything about him if you never met him?
I believe that you can project what you believe from the Bible as Jesus.
Okay, good. I'll keep projecting it. I believe that you're projecting knowledge as God.
I believe if there is a Ponzi scheme or a romantic fishing scam perpetuated on somebody, they have real feels and emotions for the individual that they fall in love with, that they are being scammed into paying.
It's not a feeling.
And I believe it's the same thing with invisible idol worship.
Bro, it's not a feeling. I don't have a feeling about God.
I can have those feelings too.
I don't have a feeling about God. I don't have a okay, are you married?
I am.
You love your wife?
I do.
Is it a feeling?
It's ish.
Oh, but you love her.
I do.
Why would you equate not always being a feeling with love for your wife, but when it comes to God, it has to be a feeling all the time?
It's false equivalence.
It's not a false equivalence because you still love. It's
like I'm talking about the difference between if I were a lonely old man and somebody catfished me. I still have emotions for somebody that is doing it to me.
The catfish difference is this: you never encountered anything to do with the catfish. I have.
So does that make my point, or does that make your point?
Hear me out. You've never encountered anything to do with the catfish. On the other hand, what you call a catfish, I've actually encountered. There is no, that's where the false equivalent lies, because I've never been catfished. You may be catfished by people. I am not catfished by God at all.
And is there an authority that has made that decision also?
What do you mean?
What authentication would you expect to see if that was true? The statement you just made is true,
Evidence
that you have not
life.
been catfished by the spirituality.
Evidence in my life.
Okay.
Miraculous things.
I've had the evidence in my life as well.
Miraculous things. Unexplainable things. But explainable at the same time because I know who did it.
Okay.
That's the evidence I have. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it anecdotal. If you want, that's fine. The same way I can call yours anecdotal.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you feel that other people have the same anecdotal experience does not make it more relevant to you than to me. I'm saying this name, I believe it. This name has power. It's attached to some body and to an entity called God. And it has all power over everything I can and can't do. And I fully 100% believe it. And I'm not delusional because I'm not a dumb person. And I'm not to the point where I cannot function on the realm of critical thinking. I'm a very critical thinker. In fact, I got to this point because of critical thinking. So for someone to call me delusional, yes, it's an insult. So don't tell me you weren't insulting, because that's an insult right off the top. To call somebody delusional and lied to simply because they don't agree with you, it's an insult. And if I decided to take offense to it, I have all rights to take offense to it. And if my retaliation to that offense is to offend you back, I have all rights, because you also cannot tell me how I should respond to an offense. That's the humanistic side. However, my other humanistic side that's controlled by God tells me that you can believe what you want. Whoever has ears to hear, you must know this verse too, let him hear. I'm not here to try and persuade, convince, any of that. I hear, I tell you what I know, what I believe. I can show you where I saw it. And if you don't want to follow it, don't follow it. You, on the other hand, are on a mission to make sure that nobody follows the Bible. That's
I would like it to still be used for the wisdoms that it's contained,
that is
but just not
difference between the two.
Well, I think you put a lot of words in my mouth.
Did I? I tell you, when you go back and watch this again, you'll see I didn't put any words in your mouth. In fact, if I did anything, I answered my questions on behalf of you. So in technically, I put more words in my mouth than yours.
Fair enough. Look, I know from reading Genesis 1 through 11 that there is a scam going on in Genesis 1 through 11.
Good, then I'll be scammed.
And
so we'll have the country. And we'll be okay with that. Because if we're wrong, nothing happens. If you're wrong, you're screwed. And we're okay with you being screwed.
Are you sure?
You picked it. Yeah.
If that is indeed true.
Sure. I wouldn't believe it if I wasn't sure. Duh. If I'm wrong, nothing happens to me. If you're wrong, you're 100% screwed. That's
Pascal's wager. And you're forgetting about the deception.
Have fun with your side of the wager. I'm having fun with mine.
Well, don't be deceived, my brethren.
Do you see how easy that is?
James 2.
I love
1 Corinthians 15:33.
I love the deception I'm in, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, you can quote any scripture you want out of context. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. And I know you're really good at it because you read the book. But reading the book from cover to cover only makes you know what words are in there. It doesn't tell you anything about the book. Congratulations on knowledge of the book.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
I have knowledge of the book too. But I'm the deceived one.
I believe you are.
Good. I'll stay deceived.
Okay.
I do want to thank you for the discussion, though, because it did give me
welcome. Marlon, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I understand more atheistic things now. But thank you, and we'll catch up.
Okay.
All right. So, I have to run because I have an appointment. But I do want to say this in closing. And you'll see another. Now, it's a good thing I put this other one to premiere tomorrow. I'm really glad God gave me that insight to do. Because when you see the other video tomorrow with another self-proclaimed atheist, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, how they have one standard for them, another standard for you. But if you were to take their standard and apply it to them, you're the bad guy. People who are atheists, believe what you want to believe. We're not here to try and convince you otherwise. Don't believe in God. It's completely okay for you to not believe in God. It is. Because everyone has to choose. But it doesn't mean that I need to be quiet about my faith, nor you be quiet about yours. But if your goal is to tell me I'm stupid for not believing it, but I can't tell you the same, I have a problem with that. Be okay with me calling you just as stupid and deluded for being an atheist as much as you can call me stupid and deluded for following God. If we can come to that conclusion, I think we'll be fine. Call me deluded, call me dumb, call me crazy, call me whatever you want for following God. Just allow me the same measure to call you the same thing. Because by my definition, you would match it, and by your definition, I would match it. Okay? I think that's the only way I can end this way. I have come to this conclusion about atheists overall. They believe what man tells them about history and about science while denouncing what man tells them about God, because they don't want the responsibility that comes with God. God comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of change. That's difficult. Man's version, you don't get to do that. You can do whatever you want. That's more appealing. That's the difference between an atheist and a Christian. An atheist gets to do what they want. A Christian can't. But believe what you will, people. Believe what you will. I'm not here to convince. I present, I tell you, you don't have to follow God. He wants you to, but you don't have to. To each his own. In either case, if you are fully convinced in your heart that God is who he says he is, and he has done what he has done for you, please. Oh, no, trust me, Nettie, you can indeed do whatever you want. I didn't say you were free of consequence. Again, people don't listen. I never said you were free of consequence. You won't murder people because, and I know there are people you probably want to end because they're so, but the law and the punishment of that law keeps you from doing it, doesn't it? Okay. We have the same thing, except we apply it to God, and he supersedes man's law. But y'all don't want that because he has way more stringent requirements than the man's law. You can do whatever you want. You really can. There's a consequence to it, however. Okay, good. In any case, love you guys. Have a good one. We'll catch up on Thursday. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the premiere of the other atheist debate, and we'll talk then. Wisdom calls to you from the streets, so please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself in no way.